Hello and welcome to your Midweek Extra. With me, your host Rob Gutmann, for once. This is your regular midweek, course of Liverpool post-defeat chat. Because that's what we do. We come and talk about Liverpool losing every single week these days. Joining me to talk about our latest fun defeat are Mo Stewart, Ian Salmon and Mike Kearney. Before we get stuck into digesting what the Reds have done to our lives again, quickly a word from a message, as they say in America, from our sponsors. We have a new partner, F-Pro. F-Pro is an exciting new product designed to help young footballers and serious fans of the sport unlock their potential. F-Pro is an app, as well as a fun initialization, that offers personalized training drills to elevate your game. With F-Pro, you can access over 200 professionally designed drills, Mo. 200. Wow. It's perfect, Mike, for practicing at home or on the go. Just 20 minutes a day can help build real control, faster feet. You've got slow feet, I know that.
I've got slow feet. I think I might be too late for this app. This app sounds fantastic, but I might be too late.
I mean, you might be the perfect person.
I could be. Maybe this is it.
If it works for you, it'll work for anyone.
You'll get faster feet.
Last time you started this conversation, somebody had to cycle to Beijing or something.
There's no cycling to Beijing. You get faster feet and smarter play. F-Pro is a brilliant gift for any young football enthusiast like you, Ian, a young football enthusiast like yourself. And you can even get, Mo, 20% off all F-Pro products by visiting fpro.com/TAW. So go get it. What's not to like? Okay, let's talk about the soccer from last night.
That's what's not to like.
Yeah, those Reds. I'll start with you, Mo. Mm-hmm. The die was cast, I think, as to what was going to happen last night when the team sheet dropped from the Reds. So what were your first thoughts?
I mean, it was a team sheet that dropped with a clang, wasn't it?
Some of us saw it coming. We talked about it on Twitter and got a dog's life of abuse for for it, but some of us know more than others.
Yes, well, I know who you know, and I know them too. But
whoa. No, there was no inside info. I predicted this about 5 days ago that Liverpool put out a set of bums, as they actually did.
Well, the Calvin Ramsey talk was a few days before.
Yeah, that inspired my...
And it was very much like, okay, well, if the door is open to Calvin Ramsey, a player who hasn't played for 3 years, then the door is open to everyone. I mean, I was half expecting to see maybe Reece Williams on the bench. I'm not sure how he managed to avoid the whole situation.
Is he still a Liverpool player?
I believe he is.
And he's not on loan?
I mean, he might be on loan. Maybe that is why he wasn't there. But it's one of those situations where it very much kind of gives you an idea of what to expect. And for better or for worse, Slot made that decision and he's going to have to live and or die by that decision. I did feel like it was one of those situations where I'd love to see what the Crystal Palace response to it was. Oliver Glasson was keeping his cards very close to his chest. He said, "Oh, it doesn't matter, it's still Liverpool. The names on the back are different, but the badge is still the same." All that kind of stuff. But
a lot of bullshit that is.
You can bet that when the Palace players saw who they were up against, they were very much like, "Oh, okay." And their approach to the game was very much like, we are the better team and we're going to prove it. I understand why he went in this direction for certain reasons, but I also understand it's a massive risk that if it doesn't go the way he wants it to on Saturday, he's going to be hearing about this for quite some time.
You see, there are divergent camps on this, aren't there? I mean, there are those that thought we're on the back of a terrible run of results, play the game in front of you, get the win because you build confidence from winning. There's those who expected us to go strong. I thought they were insane. And mainly I thought they were insane because there's two key factors, which means that approach isn't wrong as a rule in certain situations. I can see you being in a rut, you play the cup game, you've got to win it, you get back on your horse, you get going. There is a logic to that, but the context is that our first choice players have played an enormous amount of football and are going to be playing an enormous amount of football without respite. And the additional context is we suddenly have a mounting injury list. Yeah. I don't see how anybody using a rational approach to this could expect the manager to do almost anything else than what he actually did.
Well, I did the show on Monday and I used a rational approach to this, and I expected the manager to do pretty much this because I didn't want to see a first team player anywhere near the lineup. I know Andy basically wanted a day out at Wembley, and I love the idea of winning the cup, which is a great thing to
Andy?
Andy Bell.
I was for him.
Not that Andy over there. Nobody on back home can say. Andy Bell wanted a first team out.
Did he?
And he wanted to win the
Andy,
game.
you silly sausage.
He was bang up for it, and I get it. I like the idea of actually winning things. I love the idea of winning things, but I could not have been less arsed about the idea of winning this game, because losing this game doesn't matter. If we put the first team out and we'd lost this game, that would matter. I mean, that would really matter, because that would matter again on Saturday, and that would matter against Real Madrid, and it'd be all anyone was talking about. We put this team out, they lost. It doesn't affect the first team. The first team have got a week off to actually train as a team should have the chance to do. And it's given us, losing this game has given us a break here and a break there. And I don't like the idea of losing. I don't enjoy losing. It was a miserable way of losing. It was a miserable evening. It wasn't much fun trying to get back home from the ground. It was just a pain in the arse all the way through. I'd prefer it didn't exist, and we just signed off on their half time, said, okay, we're 2-0 down. Let's just go home, shall we, lads?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, Mike, I'm very much always been in the camp of, I want to win the League Cup. Like Andy Bell, I want to go to Wembley. I'm in the business of seeing Liverpool win trophies, but the circumstances here were different. Liverpool's odds of winning the trophy from this position were difficult. Even if you put a few more first team players into it, we'd have still had to get past a confident Crystal Palace team with our confidence low. We'd have then had to hope for the luck of the draw in the next round, that we didn't get City away, as I think Neil suggested it could have happened last night. We'd have then had to contend with two legs in January, possibly. I think there's been some narrative around it which says risking that Liverpool lost this game only heaps pressure on the manager, heaps pressure on the club and the side. I just don't see how people are reading it this way. I think he went so far in one direction in his selection and picking the likes of rookies such as Ramsey and Morrison and Nallo later on and other kids, that this stands alone, in my opinion anyway, as an island of a game where you can't count it in the canon of Liverpool have lost 4. It stands alone, almost like a pre-season friendly. It doesn't make things worse that we lost it.
I think that is the bigger picture view to take, isn't it? But the reason it doesn't on the discourse, so to speak, is because we have lost games, and we haven't lost as many as we currently have. I don't believe anyone's as asked about last night.
But isn't this just the banter sphere we're worried about, rather than the manager getting on with what he has to do to turn it around?
Last night was there's physically no way, even winning the game, by the way, there's no way that Arne Slot wins last night. It sounds a mad thing to say.
I agree with you.
But genuinely, that's the sort of case we were in. We win the game and maybe get another injury. We should have rested it. Should have rested him. We've got Villa, we've got Madrid, we've got Man City, and he's played. You get irate about all sorts of things here. And yes, look, no one wants to lose the game. But in the grand scheme of things, if you offer me a loss out of our next 5 games, and it had to be last night, then so be it. I'm very aware that sounds spoiled to say in the next breath is the fact that I've seen us win that trophy. And I'd like to see us win it again, yes. But necessarily this season, while we are the way we are, we've literally got 2 fit centre-halves. Van Dijk and Konate. I don't think he'll play I don't think he'd want to play Gomez in a Premier League game. The way he's avoided doing that is by doing it last night. We've got, a very, I don't know, is it a misfiring or misbalanced team or whatever it is at the minute. And doing another 60, 70 minutes between, say, 5 or 6 of them last night again. I'm not sure what's that learning out of. Like, he could have played Wirtz maybe to get a little bit of form. You could have argued that. But you could also say, well, it'd be easier just to let him play in the team he's going to play in to get that.
Can I ask you, Mike, were you, I think people weren't thinking through if they were entirely surprised by the selection. But I was slightly surprised by the bench.
Yeah, that's the. I think that's why people were so visceral with the takes, is because the bench was like, oh my God, there's absolutely no one I recognise on that bench. Essentially, there's loads of kids, and wouldn't it be nice that if the game was a bit closer, maybe you'd throw, I don't know, a Salah on a Wirtz or whatever, and maybe you can instill confidence that way. But we just gone and smacked Frankfurt 5-1 the other week, and saw the confidence that brought. And then, you know,
But also the tiredness.
exactly, and then the deeper issues of, well, we did not in training but defend set pieces and long throws, and then conceded another one. Sound like at the minute people are having to run faster on the treadmill to make it move, sort of thing, for us to be anywhere of doing anything good. And when things are going well for you, you don't have to do that. You take each step as it comes.
Can I ask Mo a question? Do you think in that team selection, by being draconian as it was, in its in being as determined as it was not to risk a single morsel of the main body of first team players' legs, do you think he was signalling that he still thinks the title is in play?
No. Personally, no, I don't think that. I think he was only thinking about injuries. I think he is probably a lot more concerned about the injuries in the squad than he is letting on. I mean, to be fair, he has mentioned it quite a lot. So when he was talking about the reasons behind his selection, he mentioned Leone's injury in the last round. He mentioned the Kitike suspension. He mentioned the fact that he thought that they would be all right playing Isak twice in a row, and he wasn't all right.
Yeah.
So their margin of error has disappeared. So he's very much like, okay, the worst case scenario here isn't even the first team getting beat again, it's someone getting injured. So we need to try and avoid that if at all possible, which is probably why there were none of them on the bench.
Yeah.
I would also factor in with that the idea that I don't know how long they'd have to have played to get a recovery day, so to speak, but from not playing at all, it means that the players who didn't play can train pretty much every day. So
I saw somebody say this on Blue Sky this morning, the fact that if we'd put the first teamers on the bench and we'd use them for 20 minutes, they would lose a day's training beforehand and a day's training afterwards. So in a week where we can train them for 5 days, we'd lose 2 days so they could play 20 minutes and still possibly lose to Palace.
Exactly that. So the hope is that you are going to see the benefits of it from Villa, not only just from the rest, but also from the chance to work on things. However, this is all kind of slightly punctured by the fact that he used both left backs for 70 minutes. Like, the fact that they both started at all, I find odd. When you consider what he was doing with Kerkez, because Kerkez was technically lined up in midfield, but at certain points he was outside of Robertson in what looked like a back five.
Yeah.
At certain points he was actually the left winger with Ngamo inside. At certain points he was the left midfield three. He was doing all different kinds of things. And when you consider number one, he's probably looked like he needs a rest mentally more than most in that squad. And number two, we've already given him so many things different to do from what he does at Bournemouth. So the last thing he probably wanted was, oh great, 3 or 4 new instructions for me to try and come together with as well, with a load of players he's not used to. I just felt like if anyone could have done with protecting, it's probably him, and he didn't.
Well, let me stay with you with this one and give you maybe a devil's advocate position on it. I do agree with you that picking the 2 left backs slightly bucks the theme in terms of let's protect players. I thought the formation, it's gone under the radar a bit, but I'm fascinated by it. There are 2 narratives, I think, on why he went with that. I think it looked, maybe you could call it a 3-4-3 or a 5-2-3, couldn't you? However you wanted to look at it. Do you think it was a horses for courses thing? He looked at the players he wanted to rest, took them out of the picture, looked at who he had left, and went, we can put together with a different sort of formation, even though this is a significantly weakened team, we could unnerve Palace here. Or do you think it was a harbinger of an idea? Do you think he maybe, and this is maybe his reason for picking Kerkez, he thought, truth is, you're a wing back, so is Frimpong, so is Bradley. We need to have a look at this. This may be something we should try to turn the corner with.
Maybe. I mean, again, when he was speaking about it, he kind of played down the idea of it being any kind of seismic change. He kind of said... But
he would, wouldn't he?
Well, he would, but one thing he did say, which is true, is that every time Liverpool played against a team with a back three, in the build-up, they have generally tended to have a back three. But it works best when Robertson is the left back as opposed to when Kerkez is the left back, because Robertson is more natural in a back three than Kerkez. So the times it's looked better is when Robertson has been there. So I think I think Burnley was one of those games as well. Burnley away was one of those games. So in Slot's mind, it wasn't a massive difference. But then you do think, well, like you say, Kirkes is more used to being or having some freedom. But again, if you're going to do this in a situation with a load of lads who he's not used to playing with, then it kind of mitigates that, because there were quite a few moments where he did make an overlapping run, the kind of thing you'd expect a wing back to do. And kind of like what's been happening in other games, Rio saw him, didn't use him, cut inside. And I love Rio. I want to get that on record to say I do love Rio. I wonder if he's spending a bit too much time with Cody Gakpo, because last night was a very Gakpo-esque performance, because it was like he was just doing the cutting inside thing every time. He didn't go on the outside once. And I don't know whether or not that's something that he's not had that conversation with the coaches or whatever. But if you're going to have a system that tries to get Kirkes into more wing-backy positions, we need to start bloody using him.
I did think with Rio that they were perhaps a bit more worried about his pace and therefore showed him inside a little bit more. The only time he did a Gakpo thing was when he bent one round the post, which was a good effort. The other time
Probably
he was
the best effort of the night.
Yeah, the other time he was forced inside, he actually does quite a nice little. You think he should give it left earlier. He doesn't. He then sort of skates across the edge of the box and does a beautiful reverse pass in the end, I think, or something equivalent to that to Chiesa.
But they did start loading up on him.
They did. They
did start understanding that when he's finished doing the step overs, his move is going to be inside and not outside.
Yeah, I thought he was one of the bright spots of the first half.
Yeah.
The interesting thing was, until Liverpool conceded, when is it, about 35, 30?
40, dead on 40.
Really, the first
Dead on, literally dead on 40, because the lad sitting next to me said on 37 minutes, we've done 40 minutes and we haven't conceded yet. And everyone's sitting there going, well, you've said it now, haven't you? And we conceded literally on 40 minutes.
Did he get thrown out?
It was absolutely a half time.
Well, I don't think they'd laid a glove on us.
No,
There wasn't
we've been really good.
So there is a sort of a rich history of Liverpool. People act like the Klopp's the first Liverpool manager to have disrespected the competition to this degree. I mean, I remember Rafa sending a team of rookies to White Hart Lane in the League Cup and taking a Tottenham team to extra time and penalties. I think very young 17-year-olds, Cinema Pongo, always playing people like David Raven. It's like a quiz question picking that team. I remember Klopp picking a team that got, a 4-4 draw with Arsenal or whatever it was, and winning on penalties.
We did this a lot earlier. I remember a team that had Gary Ablett in going to Arsenal massively depleted and doing exactly the same thing, coming out with a really good. And
So
then there's the Klopp team against Everton.
Well, of course, if
genius.
If we got to half time,
Yeah.
I think that there was a bones of a different story. Of course, they might have.
If we got to half time at 1-0, it wouldn't have been as bad.
Yeah.
I think until they score, we look good, and we're not creating a huge amount because obviously we've got one shot on target in the entire game. We don't create a huge amount, but the shape looks good. And I don't think we were. I think we were very much a 4-3-3 to start off with, because Calvin Ramsey was holding back in the same way Robert was holding back. So we had a flat back four, a three like we played last season, and then a three up front. But we were dropping to a 5-4-1 as soon as we were without the ball. And I don't think that's a permanent thing. I hope it's not a permanent thing, because it's not a very attractive way of playing football. But it made sense, and for 30 minutes it made perfect sense, and we looked really, really good. We looked like we had players who were good enough to play against that Palace team. That Palace team was pretty much the first team. So it's literally just, we get to the point on the 40th minute that they score. I think we've tired by that point. We tired ourselves out, because we've got lads who haven't played a great deal of football and certainly haven't played at that level for a long time. You know, as you said, Calvin Ramsey, not played for 3 years. He was great. He looked great throughout the game.
He did, didn't he? Yeah, Mike. I mean, it was finished as a contest by half time, really, wasn't it? At 2-0, you thought our chance of doing something remarkable was probably gone. They're too experienced aside, really, with too many Premier League players in it for us to mount some sort of stunning comeback. They'd always have our number on the counter at the very least. I do think it was a shame that as we got towards 60, when he decided to make substitutions, did he take off Kirkes and Robertson at the same time?
No,
Kirkes
played 90.
Kirkes played 90, okay, so he took off Chiesa and Ngamoa, didn't he? That very much signalled that the game was of no further interest to us.
Look, I think we did a good job of not letting them play properly for the first 40 minutes, and then they picked the tempo up and scored 2 goals, and then they brought Mateta on at half time, which was a bit of a piss take. Because the game was won, and they were like, "Oh, we'll score another goal or 2 here. We'll enjoy ourselves." I think that was it. Genuinely,
So they should.
I'd like to see them get theirs at the weekend, mind for that.
Well, no, Nketiah was injured. That's why.
Oh, did he come off injured? Nketiah, yeah. Fair enough. I mean, what they do at that point is none of our business, really. It just made me laugh. Didn't know about the Nketiah injury, really. But to that point, like, we go back to the saying about the bench.
Did he get injured when he decides to have that little lie down in the penalty area?
Maybe.
Yeah. I'm not being all joking aside. There you go. I wonder how big a man Oliver Glasner feels. Maybe in the next round of the League Cup, but I wonder how big he feels now with his wanting to push on in the league and cement a place in the top 5. He feels like he's done his club a great service by injuring a first team player.
Well, I mean, he did talk about this after the game, and his argument was that he wanted rhythm rather than rest, because they're still getting used to playing every midweek. Yeah. So having them completely all off and then come back on again might not necessarily be as beneficial as it is for a team like Liverpool.
We have no rhythm problems.
Who are more used to doing it those ways. And to be fair, he did say that his plan would have worked perfectly, but for that injury to Nketiah. To be honest, I know it probably looked like, from our perspective, that we were dominating that first half, and then they went and scored with what... To me, it kind of felt like Palace had us where they wanted us.
They're biding their time.
I don't ever feel like they were out of control. So even when there were lots of times when we were attacking, and then you look at the man with the ball, and there's about 4 Palace players between him and his nearest teammate. So they were like, okay, we can contain them, we can run you into this cul-de-sac. But when they did get the ball, they were able to go bang, 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 bang. Suddenly they're on the edge of our box. I mean...
They were, what I noticed specifically, although we had a lot of the ball in that first 35, say, we were very rarely able to get bodies in the box or brave enough to commit, because we knew what would happen. The minute they decided to step it up, you'd look up and suddenly they had 7 men in the box.
Yeah.
There was one where Woodman goes long for Chiesa, doesn't he? And Chiesa wins a free kick in the end, and no one's around him. And you're probably thinking, what's my role in this game at this point, where we've got a break on here and I've held it up and I've had to buy a free kick or win a free kick, whatever. Yeah. And there was, that to me is where, like, the containment, as what Mo said about Palace, that they would have felt like, oh shit, they're on the break here, but in actual fact we just really ever weren't. Yeah,
and it's a shame as well, because I do think that there were some really positive moments in that first half. Like, for example, I felt like the way that we defended our set pieces was better. There seemed to be structure, there seemed to be an idea. We were good at getting ahead on the first phase and then maintaining concentration through the second and third phases, which had been a lot of the problem. So I was kind of pleased with that. But when you see the 2 goals they scored in that first half, like, if you'd have known, if for all of us going into that game, looking at those 2 team sheets, saying, yes, Palace are obviously a talented side, there's one player in that Palace team we were like, make sure you keep him marked, Ismail Assar. So for him to be completely unmarked in the middle of the penalty box twice is a big failing.
But to get an assist from us each time, I spent the first half raving about how good Joe Gomez was. One of the lads on one of our WhatsApp groups said Joe Gomez looks like a fish out of water. I'm like, I thought he was our best player. Then came on and watched the replays. I'm like, oh shit, yeah. That's,
yeah, he's always going to be at the scene of the crime, though. I think people are harsh on Joe Gomez.
Well, I thought Joe was excellent throughout, apart from the 2 moments there. The second goal, I actually blamed Endo for first. I thought he clipped to his heel. I think he was actually nutmegged with it. But, they attacked well, and it's the second goal finishes the night, doesn't it? So
okay, I want to round off for Palace and then move on to some other topics. But are we seeing any bright spots from last night? A bit of Engama, a bit of Chiesa enjoyed. Ian, who did you enjoy last night?
I kind of went slightly backwards on Rio and Chiesa.
Did you?
And I love Rio as well, I'll say it straight up. Rio's fantastic football. He's got so much potential. He's not a starter yet. And anybody who thinks that Chiesa is the answer to the centre-forward issue needs to watch last night's game, because he produced nothing. He ran around a lot. He was he was dynamic, he worked hard, you can't take that away from him, but in terms of actually having an impact on the game, there was nothing there for him.
Would you like to see him in another position in the front three?
I wouldn't mind seeing him off the left. I think he could do a job there. But equally, if he's doing a job there, is Gakpo actually, Gakpo protects the left back. So in terms of the shape of the team, Gakpo makes more sense at the moment. So he may not be having a great season. People are calling him for everything, but he was our second highest scorer last season. So, what more do you want from the lad? He's no, I didn't see. I'm ready to see more of Rio. See, it's a weird one with Rio because he starts the season well. He used him. He commits him in a couple of games as a late sub, and he has an impact. And then we don't see him for about 3-4 weeks, and then suddenly he comes back, and then he's starting the whole game. He's got a lot. He's got a lot to go forward with. He's going to be a really good footballer, but I don't think he's the solution to the starting lineup at the moment.
Are we in enough of a hole that we really should be looking to gamble on playing one of these boys into some form, be it the veteran or the kid?
No, not the kid. I've always maintained the fact that we need to do what's best for him rather than what's best for us in terms of him this season. So we want to be in a situation where we want him rather than we need him. And unfortunately, the way the team is playing at the moment, it would be very much a need, which is why I think...
Well, we're nowhere near that problem with him. I mean, you know what I mean? I mean, if we played him for the last 5 games, then let's talk about overusing him.
But that's what I mean. It's not even just overusing him. I think it's just the fact of him playing in a team that's poor. Or
it's the way he was introduced to the weekend.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, no.
It's the game state, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you've got a positive game state to throw him into, then by all means, yeah. But don't. And we have been trailing and throwing everything from basically minute 3 or 4, essentially our games lately. So it's hard, and I don't know. Maybe I'd like to see more impactful use of him.
And also playing in a structure, because like you say, when we're throwing the kitchen sink at it, that's not really a repeatable thing, is it? That's not kind of allowing him to gain reps of what it's going to be like when he's playing in a functional, good Liverpool team.
He tends to turn up at a 4-2-4, doesn't he, in the last 10 minutes?
And so...
I wouldn't be against just throwing him in.
So,
do you know what he does as a minimum? Palace, remember, are a top Premier League side. They were prepared to sort of overload their defensive structure to deal with him last night. That creates, if you have better players around him.
Yeah, maybe. I just think that if you're resting Gakpo from the left, I would rather use Chiesa there. Simply because I think he does something different. And as I mentioned before, like if you look at the way Rio and Gakpo attack that position, it is very similar. So I think the good thing about having him and Diaz there was that they were different. And it was that you give the opponents a different kind of problem. So I would be looking at using Chiesa as the second choice on the left for a bit. But that's not to say that Rio is completely thrown to the wolves. I just think that I back Slot's usage of him being sparing.
Okay, I want to go back onto some of these topics when we talk in the last part of the show about Villa and the big week ahead. But I just want to sort of, what's the word? Puncture or create divide between the two by talking about an issue which won't go away and is only becoming more talked about with each passing week and each passing bad result, Mike, and that is the topic of the manager. People are, I have been shocked actually. I know the results are stark, but I have been shocked about how quickly people have been ready to turn on Arne Slot. Obviously winning the league for Liverpool, which gives you credit, it's money, it's credit in the bank, so to speak. And obviously that isn't infinite credit. But I feel people have rushed very, very quickly to go, we have to start thinking about replacing him. We're not that far off that conversation. In fact, we're already having that conversation. Where are you on this? Do you think they're insane or have your thoughts wandered?
I'm a bit lost as to how we've sort of talked this into being a reality at the minute. Like, I think it doesn't help the fact that we've currently seen us do the same thing, looking for a different result, and that's where people are thinking, well, where's this? Like last season, it seems Everton did by the Forest game, which kept him up nights. Like he seemed to genuinely be in front of most things and do really well tactically and manage games and be good with leads, but also come from behind. And at this point, every time we go behind, it's like, oh, we get about 8 strikers on here. And you need someone to load the gun for the person to take the shot. So I don't know, maybe it's a little bit of confusion of what's the story, what are we trying to do? Why aren't we trying to fix this earlier or in a different way of maybe not going behind and needing to, these late goals, to the way we started the season, late goals to win, late goals to come back into it, and then we get back into these games, Palace and Chelsea. Chelsea, you can probably say, well, there was longer left in the game, we could have won that one maybe. Palace, maybe you take a point. And then the fact that it's gone against us in more than one game, as it's gone for us, like we've scored late winners, we've conceded late winners. It's the fact that there's this, we seem to be sliding downhill and there's no pause to it at the minute. I think that's why people are frustrated and thinking about or wanting to voice their frustration, by saying get rid of him, he doesn't know what he's doing, this, that and the other. When literally, I think it was just about 6 months ago, we're not even November yet. It was the 27th of April when we had such an amazing day. He took us to that. So I'm a bit baffled of the get rid of him shouts, because the proof is in the pudding. You can say, oh, it was a Jurgen size boss, this, that and the other, whatever. He was the one that put them on the field with the instructions to do what they did last year. The players were good enough to do so. So this year, it's not just, oh, Slot's crap, get rid of Slot. Let's have a look at what the players are doing. Yes, let's have a look at what they're being asked to do. But let's not just have the blame squarely pointed out one fella and then start make things, make mountains out of molehills in terms of, oh, why is he doing this? He hasn't got a clue. It's like, I'm a bit baffled of all that talk. And to be honest, where does that stop? Because we've just had this whole, should have had more on the bench, should have had more starting, should have won the game to give us confidence, blah, 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 all that argument. But if we go into this week now with Villa, Madrid and City, and say we draw against Villa, but beat Real Madrid and then draw against City, it's not like a massive, oh, well, we're back. It's like this, oh, with the signs of us coming back. Where's someone happy with what the next month, 5, 6, 7 games looks like? And everyone's is different. Like, someone will want us to win the next 3 games to justify going out next week. Where let's be honest, I'd love that to happen, but how likely do you think that is? It's just a mess at the minute, and shouting for his head and saying he's got not got a clue. It is just a little bit reactionary.
Well, my opinion, for what it's worth, is I'm not into loyalty to people who work for Liverpool Football Club for the sake of it. I'm into it because I think it's rational. I think he proved himself in his career to date. He's proved himself a winner and an exceptional coach. I personally actually think that there are so many signs that this will be turned round. I think there's the quality of squad he's built. I think what's telling is that most people actually haven't got a remedy. I think that's always telling. That says that sometimes it just is what it is. If we saw a glaring weakness in his approach, I would say, maybe the signs are there, but I don't see obvious remedies. But Mo, let's be entirely practical about this. I think he'll turn it around, and I think he'll turn it around really, really decisively and wipe some eyes. And I just hope that I actually have a gut instinct on it. But I'm also experienced enough of a Liverpool watcher, a football watcher, to know that that's far from a given. If we are languishing in mid-table, and I mean 10th, 11th, maybe even worse, come the turn of the year, what do you think the mindset of those who are running the club should be?
Are we still in the Champions League?
Well, let's assume we are hanging in there for dear life.
Well, there you go then. Because Liverpool winning the Champions League and finishing 10th, I think everyone will be all right with that, where we are now.
Yeah, but are you going to believe that's the case? I mean,
and
I know that history says that weak teams...
Yes, it looks, if it still looks possible, then yes. I think that the reason why we're all having this conversation, the reason why there's so much talk about it, is because this is how modern football goes. There always has to be someone in trouble. There always has to be someone in crisis. And season after season after season, we have seen the general discourse become less rational after one team has already sacked their manager.
Didn't City have like 11 games last year? Yeah. Or where Guardiola had 1 or something mad? And then we're having this conversation about him. And
yeah, but they turned out shit. And went out of Europe.
And this time last year, PSG were rubbish.
I think
whilst being top of the French league.
Yeah,
the thing that I push back on most though is I've seen some people say, well, this all started last season. I saw those stats someone said yesterday, and it was like 12 wins and 12
that's
defeats
sort of bullshit because
since
on the
PSG
early.
But it's like, I think you have to acknowledge the fact that yes, if you look at from February to May last season, it wasn't perfect. There were some things that were working brilliantly that stopped working. But you also have to acknowledge the fact that part of all of this upheaval in the summer was as a fix to that. The problem is that fix isn't immediate.
But 5 of those games they're citing, I think we win 1 of our last 5, don't we? Is that right? We'd won the league. It's
Yes.
bullshit.
Yeah.
Take the period, if you want to pick a period, go from turn of the year till the day we win the league against Tottenham, and how many wins out of games played do we have? I think it's a really, really high percentage.
Yeah,
It's more than title win.
but I think what people are saying is that the way of winning was different. It wasn't as imperious as it was previously. It was grinding.
It never is. It never always is, though, is it? Like,
No, it isn't. But I think
people were saying it was grinding at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, they were. They said, wait till we played anybody. Throughout last season, there was a churlishness. Liverpool will have a bad spell.
what I think at the moment, the things that I'm paying attention to are, like you referenced before, Mike, about how last season every change worked. This season, every change is either not working or making us worse.
Yeah.
And what is different? Is it the things he's telling them are no longer as good as they were last season? Is it the players he's telling them to are reacting differently? Or is it just that they are different players and they react differently naturally? There are so many variables, even in just that one simple thing. Then we look at last season, we had very few issues with injuries. We were able to ride that through. We were able to have the same squad again and again and again. The likelihood was that even with all of the great methods that we spoke about, that he was renowned for back in Holland, the likelihood was that probably wasn't going to work again. It wasn't going to be as good a record with injuries. So now we're seeing the fruits of that. And so then a summer where we have bought big, but we have reduced our depth. If you think about the players who've left, and I don't even just think they're the players in the first team, your Trents, your Diaz, Jota, Nunes, even Kelleher played minutes. I'm thinking about Tsimikas, Elliott, even Euro Quansah. You got your guys who would come in and be able to keep the ship floating if you lost to this guy or this guy or this guy. That middle ground has gone, feels like it's gone completely. So
I'm going to. I've actually planned this after we record this show. Behind the curtain, we're going to record a gutter show. I actually did a bit of I'll preview it. We did a bit of an audit. Well, I did a bit of an audit of our transfer business in the summer and whether we've gone forward or backwards. I think the problem is in people's perception is, although there's a large amount of money spent, we haven't actually had the value for that money on the pitch yet.
no.
Just take one example. Alexander Isak is just under a third of our entire expenditure, around 28% of our entire expenditure. We haven't meaningfully had that on the pitch yet.
No.
Florian Wirtz is settling. Frimpong, we've hardly had an important buy.
Never injured last year as well, by the way.
Never injured. Never injured. We've lost, but we've cleared. But where you manifest the loss is when you sell a player who's had a good season. Trent, good season. Luis Diaz, good season. Contributed. Nunes, Diogo Jota, all contributed.
Are we really talking about Trent as having a good season last season because we're complaining about him all the way through the season?
Well,
everyone was complaining about
People
Trent.
complain about him.
There's a backdrop, but when people do, people often do it in the transfer sort of analysis. They go, well, Liverpool spent X and Liverpool got back Y. I think roughly round numbers, we spent 450, got back about 260.
Yeah.
Got rid of Harvey Elliott without banking the money, got rid of Trent without banking the full fee. There's almost another 100 on that. If you actually theoretically put another 100 worth of effective sales onto that 250, we've sold 350, maybe spent 450, the net gain isn't very much. And then you take the fact that Isak costs so much and hasn't yet been usable in any meaningful sense. You go, we kind of in overall sense we have gone backwards here, and it's that context that people don't quite want to face.
Yeah, I completely get it because I said very early in the season that Arsenal had bought is the wrong term, but I'm going to go with it. They bought better than us over the summer. We bought brilliantly, but we didn't add to the squad. Arsenal added to the squad, so Arsenal basically bought very well. And
Well, they didn't sell anyone.
Exactly. Well, they've got nobody
Thomas
that
Partey,
could sell, basically, have they?
effectively.
So they've actually added players, so they've got more depth, and we basically lost depth. And if our entire first team squad is fit, then our 18 looks fantastic. Our 20 looks fantastic. It looks absolutely fantastic. And there'll be, if you've got 20 with the likes of Endo and Gamoa can't get on the bench, we've had it a couple of times this season, then that is a strong 20. You can't disagree with that fact. But it's not happening often enough in the moment. So it is, the injuries are costing us, and the injuries, as we know from previous seasons, as soon as you get one injury, then you've got a knock on of somebody else actually having to play more. And the biggest thing about the team sheet for me last night was, oh, please God, why are we playing Gomez? Just stick somebody else on rather than Gomez, because I can't do with another injury to a centre back. This is where we are.
In a weird way, City sort of had that problem, didn't they? Where everyone thought they had like 40 lads who just play footy every single week and were no matter who you plugged in. When in reality, they had 18 to 20, as Ian's saying. Yeah. And then when they had like 4 or 5 injuries, the bench is looking
suddenly
worse. And you're like,
why?
But that's the reason we've got 17, 18 really, really good footballers who sadly currently, for one reason or another, either aren't fit enough, settling in. There's all sorts of these exterior things you can point at that we were skating by really at the start of the season, and it was bossed, by the way. The Bournemouth game, unbelievable. Ian Gamoa late minute at Newcastle, fantastic. And I thought we'd get our feet underneath us while we were still getting them bounces of the ball and what have you. And the Palace 1-1 draw would have been well, God, we've robbed a point out of these. We conceded the goal. We got back at Chelsea, and it's like a seesaw, and it's just tipped the other way a little bit yet while we're still trying to get our feet underneath us.
Okay, well, let's move this on to the Villa game. I mean, this looms before us. Every game's getting bigger the more the crisis deepens. Mo, I don't think last night deepened the crisis, but it certainly didn't help it in terms of the way people are perceiving the health of Liverpool Football Club at the moment. The biggest factor going into the game will be one of the biggest facts will be revealed at the press conference you should be at on Friday morning, where Klopp, Jesus Christ, that guy, where Arne Slot will reveal the state of play with the injuries. What are you expecting him to say going into that?
So he was asked a little bit last night in the post-match.
Yeah.
And where everyone is, and he basically said that Ryan has got a good chance. It sounds like Ryan will be fit. He wasn't willing to be given an individual assessment on everyone else. Everyone else is kind of grouped together as the rest, which for me suggests that Ryan might be the only one who comes.
The rest now, just to remind us, is a Frimpong, Jones, Isak,
and probably Alisson as well.
And the keeper, yeah.
So I wonder whether or not he's keeping his cards close to his chest, particularly in terms of Jones. But yes, if you ask me what my gut feeling is, I think that Ryan comes back in, but everyone else remains out, at least for this game. But we should add, Ryan coming back is a big boost, because I do think that he's someone who makes a massive difference to the way that we play. And yes, there's no guarantee he's going to come in straight away and play at a fantastic level, but there's no getting away from the fact that him in the side makes us all better.
I mean, there's been signs in that, successfully in Frankfurt and less successfully due to circumstance maybe rather than design of formation, that he was trying something new, the manager, but before the Palace game, which was to play a front two with two wide midfielders, one of whom tucked in and played as a sort of roaming 10. We saw against Frankfurt, if I'm thinking right, saying Ekitike and Isak together, with Wirtz cutting in nominally from a defensive right midfield position to play behind them. And then he had Gakpo as a sort of more left midfield position, orthodox left midfield position. He semi-reprised that, I think, against Brentford, with Salah replacing Isak effectively. And Wirtz again.
Salah moved in a great deal.
Are you expecting to see that kind of approach against Villa?
I think the sensible formation for us to go for going forward, and this might be one of many reasons I'm not a football manager, is a 4-3-1-2 with Wirtz being given that roaming number 10, because I don't want to see Wirtz coming in from the right hand side of midfield. I think if you
So
you
a
remove Verts somewhere-
four diamond 2, yeah.
Not necessarily, well, a 4-line 1-2. So rather than the diamond, have that ability to have a bank of 3, which worked under Klopp, or Gravenberg splitting the centre backs when you need to, so that you can get the width from
A
the
triangle,
fullbacks.
yeah.
So basically, kind of a small triangle, flat line, but with that roaming man there who can go right across. So the width has to come from the fullbacks, and you move the guys from the wings in, and you go. It's not quite the Bobby Firmino sitting behind 2 wingers. It's more kind of a Bobby Firmino sitting behind 2 number 9s, and you use Salah closer in. Because at the moment, what we're doing with the 3, last night with the 3 didn't work. Everybody was marooned. There was no cohesion between the 3 of them. So, if we've got to look at this, if we look at this being our last effective season of Salah, I know we've got him next season as well, but if we see this being our last effective season of Salah, we've got to look at transition into the team being built around Verts, Isak and Ekitike. These are the 3 men to build it around. So what's the best for them? And it's a 1 behind 2 for me. And then everything else builds from there. It's like when Roy Evans built the whole team around the idea of Steve McManaman being a free roaming player, and everything works around this idea here. That's what we need to do, and I think that gives you a 4-3-1-2. And if your 3 is a bank of 3, which is probably at the moment, it'd be Gravenberg, Szoboszlai, Jones, because I think as we stand at the moment, McAllister, although he was better last night, is our fifth choice midfielder, because there's something that's not quite right in his game. But I think with that, if you go with a good strong back 4, those 3, Verts behind Ekitike and Isak, or Ekitike and Salah, as is more likely for this weekend, you got strong formation.
I like lots of bits of that. I think that we should be prioritising building on the relationship between Ekitike and Verts in particular, because I think those 2 have got something going, and I think that, as Ian alluded to, that's going to be the future of this team. So the more we can see them together, the better. I like the idea of having still 3 in midfield, so you can have a Gravenberg drop into the defence if you want to push the fullbacks on, but you've also got coverage. You're not going to be outmanned by if we have a 3-4-3, then teams can come in with a 3 midfield, particularly Villa, who do like to have quite a few midfielders in a round. They don't necessarily go with the wide forwards do kind of end up being really midfield. So John McGinn will be a wide forward, but he's really a midfielder. So against Villa, I think you need to dominate that midfield area. The only caveat to all of this, and the reason why I suspect it might not happen, is Gakpo. He doesn't fit into that.
No.
And unless you play him as one of the
8s,
number 9s.
And I would be surprised if right now Slot decides that he's going to take him out for a game or 2. It might be a situation where we start with that, he's on the bench, and when he comes on, the formation changes. But I don't know whether or not he would commit to that for 1, 2, 3 games in a row, because Gakpo, it's not just that he doesn't get the best out of him, it's just that he's basically lost in that situation.
I was coming to that point that most made well there, Mike. Gakpo is the interesting question mark, I think, looking at Liverpool's immediate future. The manager has clearly signalled that he wants to play with effectively 2 forwards and somebody roaming behind, but the way he chose to do it thus far was with Verts coming from a right midfield position into playing behind the strikers and allowing Gakpo there on the left, and having 2 in midfield, not Ian's triangle of 3. But he has no Gravenberg available during this phase of experimenting with this. Which way do you think he goes for Villa? Does he repeat that, keep Gakpo in the team, or does he bench Gakpo and go with, or put him in, or we could put him in one of the midfield slots? Because let's work on the basis Curtis Jones isn't available. Ian's midfield 3 would be Gravenberg at the base, Szoboszlai in one of the 8 positions, and probably McAllister. Which way do you see him going? Ian's way or his way?
I think he'll play Gakpo left wing. I just, if he wasn't going to do that, I think we'd have seen Gakpo on the bench last night, or in and around the team last night, and he wasn't. So resting him for the full game, giving everyone the night off. I assume you may see something more akin to what we used to have, Ekitike down the middle, Salah and Gakpo wide. I might be wrong. I'll be very interested in seeing this midfield of Gravenberg, Szoboszlai, and one of McAllister and Jones going forward. I'd be not, because I would like to see it happen,
I mean, that's last
I
season's
just-
midfield, really.
Yeah, but I'd also like to not play that at 60% versus what we could play at 100%, if you get me. Because like Jones has come back from a knock. If he plays, I don't think he will. McAllister, I don't know. Like I don't
He
know,
does take
carrying
him off,
something.
so maybe that's...
Maybe, yeah. I don't know if McAllister's carrying something, or he never quite had the preparation of what you'd require to be at the level he played at last year. Or maybe it's just the fact that he set a massively high ceiling, and we're being really harsh, and that he's somewhere near it, but not near enough to be as good as he was, and the whole balance of the team. I do find that fact that it sort of gave himself away by Gakpo was nowhere near. None of them three went anywhere near the team last night. So I think we will see a front three essentially, and more like a 4-2-3-1 maybe, where Wirtz is maybe just in behind and floating around. Not really an 8, not really a 10, not really a wing.
Great, the formation that got us
Yeah.
into this mess in the first place.
Essentially, yeah.
All right, I'm going to wrap it here then. Not for once, but it is difficult to call. I think we'll have a hint more at Friday's press conference, but let's see. I hope you've enjoyed us trying to remain chipper, despite everything being endlessly miserable. Thank you very much to Mike, thank you to Ian, thank you to Mo, and we'll see you all again very soon.